Whatever you have to do. However long it takes. Promise me you'll find your way home. Furiosa. Give me this promise.
This week on Talking About the Movies, it's catch-up time. By about a week. I didn't get to see last week's big new releases, so we're going to talk about them this week, starting off with the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth in Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Plus,
we're gonna need the big scale!
Does she need to announce it to the whole office?
Say when.
Never, John. Bury me in cheese.
Life here is pretty near perfect. Little did I know, it was all about to collapse. Odie, I'm dreaming again. Slap me across the face. Come on, Junior. You. Huh? This is Vic, my father.
Welcome back, Victor.
the world's most beloved fat cat makes a return to the big screen, this time in CG animated form and voiced by the voice of Peter Quill and Mario. Chris Pratt stars as Garfield in the Garfield Movie. It's a double feature this week on Talkin' About the Movies.
And welcome to Talking About the Movies, where, of course, on this program we talk about the biggest new releases of the weekend. None of them are wide this week. We don't have any major new wide releases, but I didn't get to see the two big new releases from last week, so that's going to be the focus of this particular episode. And let's just go ahead and jump on into it. And we'll start off with what was technically the biggest new release from last weekend, and that is Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. So kind of talking about the Mad Max series as a whole, I do like most of the movies. I mean, none of them I could say are bad films. The original Mad Max is a classic. The Road Warrior, some say is better than the first one. I tend to agree with that. Beyond Thunderdome is a fun movie. Definitely not as good as the Road Warrior, but still a fun film. Tina Turner's very good in the film as the villain in that. Mad Max Fury Road is a film that I liked it, but I'm one of those people that I don't love it as much as everybody else does. I think the best thing about the movie is the fact that it's just non-stop, in-your-face action, with the action sequences top-notch all the way through. I thought the casting overall was very good. The music was very good. I don't think it was one of the best films of the year, but it was a film that I really, really did enjoy. Considering that I had not seen the Mad Max movies before that, I never saw the original trilogy before I saw Fury Road. So we have this prequel here that has been getting a very interesting interesting reaction from most people. But the story of this is that it's a prequel as well as a spin-off to Fury Road, where it takes place 15 to 20 years before the events of Fury Road, where you have a desert wasteland with warlords fighting over the last remaining sources of water, food, weapons, and gasoline. Furiosa traces the young title character's life, the young character played by Anya Taylor-Joy, even though she was originally played by Charlize Theron in the Fury Road. From her kidnapping by the forces of Warlord Dementis, played by Chris Hemsworth, to her revenge on the Warlord for the loss of her mother. For over a decade, she struggles to survive as a slave, and eventually a trusted lieutenant of the Citadel's cult leader, Immortan Joe, played here by Lacey Holm, and his military commander, Praetorian Jack, played by Tom Burke. And so this has been getting some very interesting reactions from people. It's been positively reviewed. A lot of people still really enjoy it. But it's definitely not the same animal that Fury Road is. And for me personally, and also the fact that the big story right now is that it's an underperforming film. But that's a whole other story altogether that I'll delve into on the Reviewing Network Live later tonight when we talk about the box office for this. But as far as the movies themselves go, this film in particular, I did really enjoy. And I liked it because it's kind of the opposite of what Fury Road was. Like I said, Fury Road was a film where it was just all-out action in your face. You didn't really have a whole lot of time to take a breather. It just kept going and going and going, and that was just something that was kind of fun about that film. This film, however, decides to take it a little bit slower. It can still do a lot of the same things that made Fury Road great as it is, but there is more emphasis on a story. There's more emphasis on character development. There's more emphasis on, building a background, expanding the universe and all that. And I think that's one of the things that some people were taken aback by when this came out, but I thought that was kind of invigorating for this film to see a story like this be expanded the way they did here, and that kind of made my enjoyment of the film really more engaging and exciting. I've said it before with George Miller, and I said this, that he's the anti-Ridley Scott. Like, Ridley Scott is a great director. He's made some of the most significant movies of all time. You know, Alien, Blade Runner, American Gangster, The Martian, like all these great movies that have held up the test of time. But whenever he makes a movie nowadays, a lot of people get excited for it. I'm always the one that's just kind of like, I just don't really have the excitement that I do for Ridley Scott anymore, because most of his movies are pretty much the same thing. Even when he returns to something that he became known for, like the Alien movies. When Prometheus came out, everyone was so excited he was coming back for it. But then you see the movie, and it was a movie that was just another Alien movie, and a film that felt like it was self-congratulating itself before it even did anything of noteworthiness. The same thing can be said about Alien Covenant, except that one was even worse. But like, you know, he makes these movies that people seem to really like, and it's just like, I really don't see it. Like, I don't see the appeal of something like The Last Duel, which I thought was one of the worst movies of a couple years ago. I don't see the appeal of something like Napoleon, which was one of the worst films from last year. I think a lot of his movies, they're ambitious, but they're just movies that have been done to death so many times and just really are devoid of what makes Ridley Scott so special. The fact that he's going back to the movie that won him, to one of his movies that won an Oscar for Best Picture, Gladiator, with Gladiator 2. I'm not excited to see it. The only thing I'm looking forward to with that film is that Denzel Washington is in, and usually he can add another element to a film like that. Like, I mean, he's the greatest actor we have right now. I still stick by that. But you know, even his films that I did kind of enjoy, like I liked House of Gucci, but mostly because of one, Lady Gaga, who I thought was pretty good in there, but mostly because of Jared Leto's over-the-top performance in this, and some of the weird, bizarre camera tricks they do here. Like, that movie has one of the funniest transitions you will ever see. It's just so out of nowhere, and it just feels off on so many levels. I mean, we could just have a conversation about why I have this thing against Ridley Scott. We'll save that for another time, but we're focusing on George Miller because, like I said, he's the anti-Ridley Scott. Whenever he makes a new movie, I get excited for it because I'm always excited to see which direction he's going to go with it, because he doesn't make as many movies as he usually would, but the movies that he makes are still films that you remember. Like, it's like, this is the guy that made all these Mad Max movies, made a segment for The Twilight Zone, the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet remake, which is incredible with John Lithgow. He does a comedy like The Witches of Eastwick. He does a drama like Lorenzo's Oil. He does family films like Babe, Pig in the City and Happy Feet, which are films that just seem like they're just all over the place, kind of like how Danny Boyle does these different genres. And then his last film he did before this, 3,000 Years of Longing, I thought was incredibly well done, with Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton. That's a criminally underrated film. You forget he wrote the original Babe. Like, he was one of the writers on the original Babe, as well as the producer on that film. And just like, no matter what movie he does, I get excited for it because I'm always excited to see what he does next. Like, he's a director that I always look forward to his next film, because, you know, he can go back to the things that made him well known in the first place, and he can add another layer to it. And I think with Furiosa, I think he does that very well here. I think he does a very good job of expanding the universe, creating these characters that we want to get behind. Like, I liked Anya Taylor-Joy. I think is going to rule the world in the next decade or so. I think this movie, if these last couple movies she's been in has improved it already, she's got a future that in the movies that I really can't wait to see what she does next, because I feel like she's going to be one of those actresses who's going to be one of the top leading actresses by the time we get to the end of the decade. And Chris Hemsworth in here playing Dementus, this is probably the most fun he's had outside of Thor. Like, I'm watching him in this movie, and it's just like, he really is having the time of his life with this, and he's just having a ball with it. Like, he really is playing this character so well to a T. And, of course, you still get the great action sequences in here. The visual effects are still very impressive. The look of the film is incredible. The cinematography, Simon Duggan does a very good job of filming these shots here. This is still an incredibly well-made film. I really like it a lot. I thought it was a ton of fun. I think it delivers a good job of expanding the story, building this universe around these characters. And they did a good job of replacing Furiosa and it doesn't really make you miss the fact that Charlize Theron's not there anymore. And it's because you have a great actress in Anya Taylor-Joy to be there in the long run. But I really like the film a lot. I think it's a very good film. I don't think it's as good as Fury Road, but I do like the things that they tried to do with it. I do like that they tried to expand on the universe. I do like that they expanded on the characters, expanded on the world that they built, and I think that makes it kind of fun in the long run. I had a really good time watching this movie. I thought it was a ton of fun. I highly recommend it. If you like the other Mad Max movies, you're really going to find a lot to admire about this movie. Definitely not as good as Fury Road, but still enough for me to give this a big thumbs up. I really do recommend this film. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it, because it really does deserve to be seen by people. And the fact that it's underperforming is really a shame, because it is a film that definitely deserves to be seen by people, especially people who really like the last movie in the Mad Max series. I think they'll find a lot to admire about this film, easily. So that is Furiosa. So let's go ahead and talk about our next movie, and that is the Garfield movie. And I think we need to set the mood here a little bit here. I'll be right back. Alright, there we go. We got all my Garfield stuff here ready to go for this review. I don't know why, because they're just going to sit there in the background mostly for the majority of this. In fact, you're not even going to see the other two right there. But you can tell that I'm a Garfield fan. I've got the shirt, I've got the stuff right here. I even bought a Garfield costume for Halloween a couple years ago. I was going to wear it, but I never got around to wearing it for Halloween. I was going to wear it for this review, but as you can see, this will probably be very tough for me to sit in, so I don't know why I brought it in here. I just wanted to show you that I have this, just because I'm a Garfield fan. So naturally, I was looking forward to the Garfield movie. In fact, let's go ahead and change this up a little bit. I mean, quite honestly, there was no reason for me to bring that stuff in here. I just wanted to show you how much of a fan of Garfield that I really am, because I really am a fan of Garfield. I grew up with the cartoon, Garfield and Friends. It was a show that I used to watch a lot on TV and on Saturday mornings on Nickelodeon and on Cartoon Network. I read the comic strips a lot as a kid. I watched the Garfield specials a lot. I saw the Garfield movies, the ones with Bill Murray, the ones that are not that great, but you know what? Garfield's in it. One of my favorite characters, so, yeah, like, this is a character that I've really admired over the years, so naturally I was looking forward to seeing the new Garfield film. And considering that this is also directed by the same guy that did stuff like Cats Don't Dance and The Emperor's New Groove, Mark Dindal, I got even more excited, because those are criminally underrated animated films, and if anybody's going to make this movie work, it's probably going to be him. So naturally I was very excited, and just kind of running down the two Bill Murray Garfield movies, they're not great films, but you know, you get to hear Bill Murray as Garfield, that's a positive, but everything else, those home movies don't work, because it feels like they are completely missing what made Garfield so special, and they make the characters in those movies are kind of non-existent, they're kind of pointless, they're kind of opposite of what they actually are. Like, if you watch Garfield the movie, that is not normal that you see in there. Whoever they get was that actor, David Eigenberg, who plays a cat that does not even look like normal. Or Arlene's in that movie, and like that does not look like Arlene by any means. Or Liz in this movie. Like, Liz is just way too nice to John in this. And you know, Breckin Meyer's John is the only other character in here that actually feels like their character, besides Bill Murray. Like, Bill Murray's Garfield's great, but at the same time, he's not really given a whole lot to do, because the line readings he's given and the stuff that he's being told to say are not funny. And yeah, Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties, I don't think I need to say anything more about how bad that movie was, because the only reason that came out is because it was a success in Britain. So there you go there. But, and even though I love Garfield, I never saw anything after that. I think those movies kind of took me down a little bit from seeing anything new. Because, you know, Frank Welker does a very good Garfield in the Garfield movies. The Garfield Gets Real and Garfield's Fun Fest, I think it is, and the Garfield Show. I just never really got invested in those. Even though I like Frank Welker a lot, I think he does a very good job replacing Lorenzo Music, but I just never really took the time to watch those movies. In fact, the one time I watched the first one, Garfield Gets Real, I was just kind of like, yeah, this is definitely not good. So, but yeah. So as you can tell, I'm kind of a Garfield connoisseur, if you will. In fact, I've literally got the Garfield and Friends DVD sets right here. I watch them every once in a while. I mean, that's how much I love this show. Love the character so much. And so now we have the Garfield movie, where you have Garfield reuniting with his long-lost father, a street cat named Vic, played by Samuel L. Jackson. Streetcar Named Vic. That'd be a very different kind of movie. A street cat named Vic, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who's being forced into joining him on a high-stakes adventure in which he's basically Vic is basically having to pay back a debt by this villain cat played by Hannah Waddingham. They have to go to this farm and get this milk, and then you find out that this is all part of an evil plan of hers, and chaos and hilarity ensues. And of course, the big thing everyone was talking about beforehand was the fact that Chris Pratt was going to play the voice of Garfield. Now, don't get me wrong. Chris Pratt would have not been my first choice. I mean, if I had to pick somebody to replace Lorenzo Music, which would be very hard to do, my first choice would have been Norm Macdonald. I think Norm Macdonald was the perfect choice to be Garfield. That just never came to be. I mean, I just recently I even tried to see what a Norm Macdonald Garfield would sound like, and it kind of sounded like this.
According to a new survey, 55% of adults feel that women are most responsible for minor fender benders, while 78% blame men for most fatal crashes. Please note that the percentages in these pie graphs do not add up to 100% because the math was done by a woman. For those of you hissing at that joke, it should be noted that that joke was written by a woman. So now you don't know what the hell to do, do you? No, I'm just kidding. We don't hire women.
Okay, maybe not the best overall representation of what Norm Macdonald's Garfield would sound like, but be kind of close to that. And I was really hoping one day somebody would give Norm Macdonald a chance to do that, but unfortunately, he passed away in 2021, so yeah, scratch that possibility out there. But when Chris Pratt was cast as Garfield, I didn't mind it, honestly. I mean, I know people were already not comfortable with him doing the voice of Mario, which I thought he did it okay in the Super Mario Brothers movie, but honestly, when you look at the two, this is not that hard of a character to mess up with in terms of Garfield's voice, because Chris Pratt does make the character sound like what you expect Garfield to sound like. I mean, yeah, it's Chris Pratt doing Chris Pratt, but you know what? It's easy for him to do that voice for Garfield than it is to do a voice for Mario, so it really wasn't bothering me all that much. Plus, I like Chris Pratt a lot. I do think he is a talented actor overall, comedic actor, action actor, you name it. But like honestly, when I looked at this movie, the one real complaint I had with it going is in terms of Garfield's character was the fact that I'm kind of one of those people that hates the fact that Garfield doesn't close his mouth doesn't stay shut anymore. Like that used to be the thing that was in all the specials and all the Garfield and Friends TV series, and then starting with the movies, they decided to keep his mouth open while he's talking, and it's just like, I don't know. For me, that's a nitpicky thing, honestly, with the character. I mean, I like the fact that I used to like the fact that we didn't see his mouth move. Like I like the fact that we could still hear his thoughts even though his mouth was still shut. I mean, that's just my personal take on it, but it's just a nitpicky thing here, in my opinion. But you know, everyone also was complaining about the movie too. It was not complaining, but it got bad reviews from critics. You know, Rotten Tomatoes had it at 50% when the initial reviews came out, and if you saw what happened with if you really look at it, Rotten Tomatoes has no idea what the hell they're talking about, because If ended up being a really damn good movie, as did this film. It's very heavily flawed, but still a very good film. I really enjoyed this film a lot. I thought it was a ton of fun. It's simply a fun movie. It's not a groundbreaking movie where it's trying to do something new or different, or just to be this a film that's trying to be Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. It's not trying to do that. Like, it's just, we got you here. Let's give you an entertaining, fun film. I mean, it's okay for an animated movie to just be a fun, good time. I'm not expecting another, Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem or something like, again, Spider-Man, where it's going to be a groundbreaking film. If it's a film that could just go in there and give you a good time with it, I think it's doing its job, and I think the movie did a very good job of handling that with this. I mean, the voice cast, I think, overall does a very good job of handling themselves. Chris Pratt, I thought, was very good as Garfield, like I said. I thought Samuel Jackson was pretty fun as Vic. Hannah Waddingham is the villain in this. Is just having the time of her life, and it's just, like, I'll get to her in a minute, but, like, she is, like, if you didn't think Hannah Waddingham was a talented actress beforehand, watch her in this and watch her in The Fall Guy and, like, Ted Lasso, of course, too. But here, this is another great villain from this director, Mark Dindo, who, he was behind Cast of Dance, where you had the villain of Darla Dimple, which was absolutely hilarious, and then of course Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove. This one definitely deserves to be right up there in that list of great cartoon villains. I mean, she's just a hilarious, over-the-top villain in this. Ving Rhames, who plays one half of this bull, who is a mascot of this place that they're trying to break into. Like, I thought he was hilarious. Like, he plays it so seriously, and they make fun of the fact that he plays it so seriously. Like, he's talking about, like, there's parts where Garfield's just like, are you just doing dramatic pauses? Because he has this thing where he's talking so seriously, and he has, like, the dramatic pauses in there, and it's just like, stuff like that I think that's very funny stuff. If there's any casting in here that I thought was just not bad per se, but just kind of okay. Nicholas Hoult, I thought, did a pretty decent job as John. There's one person in particular that I thought kind of was a little bit underused here, and that's Harvey Gillian, who plays Odie, which Odie, I feel like, is a character that doesn't really need a big name behind it to make that work. Not to say that he was bad or anything, but you get a guy from What We Do in the Shadows who has already proven that he can be a good actor, is a good comedic actor in something like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and here, he's just making dog noises, and I mean, like, it's something where you could have easily gotten somebody like, you could have gotten Greg Berger back from Garfield and Friends to do that voice, or, just, I don't know. Me personally, like I said, it's nitpicky stuff here. I thought he was fine for what he had to do, but it really did just feel like it was a role that was that didn't need like a big celebrity name attached to it, but. Then again, that's just my personal take on it. I mean, like I said, nobody in here is bad. Like, even stuff like Snoop Dogg in here. Like, they made a big deal about Snoop Dogg in here in the last trailer. Dude barely shows up in the movie. Like, he's only in there for like a couple of minutes, and then he's just gone. Even though he has a song, but he does have a song added into here, so I guess that kind of balances it out a little bit. But yeah, those are just nitpicky things here and there. The story overall, it's pretty much a formulaic story. We've seen this kind of story done over and over again. Nothing too amazing about it, but at the same time, it's not a big deal. Like, I think they did a pretty good job of doing what they had to do with the story overall. I like the fact that it didn't drag on too much. Like, there's elements where they do the third act misunderstanding, and you think it's going to drag on, but no, it kind of rushes itself pretty quickly, and they just kind of move along with it pretty fast here, and that's what I did, and I did kind of admire that about that. I mean, this is a film that could have easily gone south so badly, and I was just waiting for that moment where everyone's thoughts before the critical reviews were coming in saying that, I'm waiting for that moment for the ball to drop, and it never really dropped with me, honestly. The comedy overall is decent. Nothing really I take that back. There are some things that did make me laugh out loud, specifically revolving around the villain. I just like the way that she's animated. I like the way that she has all these unique little traits that you take notice of. Like, she wears this mood ring necklace, and it depends on her mood. Like, it'll change like the entire background as a whole. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. The two sidekicks she had, Brett Goldstein and Bowen Yang, I thought were very funny in this. And like I said, Ving Rhames I thought was very good with the bits they had him work with. The movie does find a good toy boat. I'm already halfway through this, so I don't want to start all over again. But like I said, when the movie can get serious, but has more emotional moments to it, I thought they worked very well. I really thought the opening with Baby Garfield was well done, very funny, very heartfelt, and I swear, Baby Garfield doesn't take off, there's something wrong with this world, because that thing was kind of cute. That thing is really damn cute, but like the relationship between Samuel Jackson and Chris Pratt, I liked that storyline that they were building up here. Garfield's character believes that his father abandoned him for selfish reasons, but that wasn't the case at all. And I do like the fact that they built the storyline up very well here. Like the fact that, Garfield's been living this pampered life, and his father's always been across the street, just hanging out in this tree where he's like scratching the bark. Like, those are nice little touches, and I like when the movie does take those little breaks and all that. And I think that really does help to carry the film overall, and I think it gives it a lot more weight to it than the other movies that we've already had over the last couple of decades. But But like I said, Jinx I thought was a very good villain. Like, I like the animation on her. The animation in general I think is very well done, even though, like I said, it's nothing groundbreaking, nothing too really engaging and all that, but it's just fun animation to watch. And really, that's really the thing I come out of this movie talking about with it, is that the fact that it's just a fun animated movie. Like, it's just a simple, fun animated movie. It's not there to break any new rules. It's not there to break any new grounds or anything. It's just there to give you a good time. And I had a good time with it. I really enjoyed a lot about it. This producer, John Cohen, I was wondering why I've heard that name before, because it's hard for me to look for. It's because if you go on Wikipedia, he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but I found out that he was a producer on another series of films that I thought were very fun, and that's the Angry Birds movies. Like, the first Angry Birds movie was unfairly criticized by a lot of people. I still like those movies a lot. I've really grown to like the second movie a lot, even though I wasn't a big fan of it the first time around, but I really like those movies a lot. I think those are very underrated films. He also has produced the Despicable Me movies. He's done a ton of other things. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing, and, you know, I'm not just saying this because he actually liked the tweet that I said after I saw the movie yesterday, saying that the movie was pretty damn good, which, thank you for that. If you're watching out there, I don't know if you are, but I really do appreciate that, and I think you made a pretty good movie. You make a lot of really good movies, honestly, but that's enough of that. But what am I trying to say here? But overall, I thought the Garfield movie was fun. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was very fun. It definitely has its flaws to it, but it's still a very fun film. I like the animation, I like the voice work, I like the comedy, I like the sentimental moments. I had a real good time with it. It's one that I think a lot of people are misjudging. I think it's a movie that's going to have a legacy going forward. Maybe not as a great film, but definitely a film that's going to get more admiration as time goes on. A film that's going to be more seen as a movie that we've misjudged it. It's a film that's actually not as bad as people make it out to be. I mean, it's a movie that kind of similar to something like Wish, where I think it got badly misjudged by people. I think that's going to be a film that over time will eventually find its audience again, like another Disney film as of late, Strange World. But overall, I did like the movie. I thought it was fun. I do recommend it on a Saturday afternoon matinee or something on FX when it comes on FX in a couple of years. It's definitely going to be one that's going to be played a lot on TV in various ways, and it's not surprisingly the best Garfield movie to come out in theaters, which really isn't saying all that much, but I'm definitely looking forward to see what they do with this character going forward. It's just, I can't recommend it enough. I really enjoyed this film. Thumbs up. Good fun time. Definitely check it out. Definitely go into it with a more positive note, because I think if you like the character Garfield, you're really going to like a lot about this movie. A fun film. I really do enjoy it. So we are at the end of May. So let's go ahead and do the recap of the movies that I saw in May. So I voted thumbs up on The Fall Guy. Big thumbs up. I thought it was a very fun movie, a very fun inside Hollywood film with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt playing off each other very well. A fun action romantic comedy, which is a very rare thing nowadays, but it's a movie that was really damn good. Unfortunately, didn't get the proper respect it deserves. It's a really good film. Big thumbs up. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Don't check out our next movie, Unfrosted the Pop-Tart Story. I voted a big thumbs down on that one. That movie was such a disappointment, considering that Jerry Seinfeld's goodwill going into that film was so high, and considering how the last month he's been doing everything to try to destroy all that goodwill he's had and trying to ruin his career. Yeah, the movie didn't help either. It was just a film that had so much potential to it, but the jokes weren't funny. The cameos were too much all over. Nothing of engagement whatsoever. One of the worst films of the year easily. Big thumbs down. I give a big thumbs up to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I think West Ball is on the right track of continuing this series on its great set of movies that it's had during its reboot phase. The original trilogy, I think, is great. I think what West Ball is setting up here with this new series is very exciting and engaging. I can't wait to see what he does with it going forward. Thumbs up on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Big thumbs up to John Krasinski's If, which I think is a film that should deserve to get more proper respect than it did when it came out. It's a very fun film, very funny stuff, very very good film, a fun family film that I think is a masterpiece. Honestly, it's a film that I think is going to get more proper respects as time goes on. It just shows that John Krasinski really is a great director with the Quiet Place movies and this, and seeing where he goes from here. I'm very excited to see where he goes with it. It's a film that you should definitely check out. If big thumbs up for me, one of the best movies of the year. One of the worst movies of the year is next with Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse biopic. Another great musical biopic that wastes a terrific performance by its leading actor and just gives you a film that is just by the numbers. And I think this one does it at its worst because there's so many fascinating things about Amy Winehouse as a whole that this movie just completely overlooks to try to make a safe, sanitized film. And what do you expect from the director of 50 Shades of Grey, honestly? So, yeah, big thumbs down on Back to Black. I give thumbs up to Furiosa and Mad Max Saga, a film that I think really is very good. I like the fact that it has a lot of the same elements that Fury Road made work, the action sequences and all that, but it also adds a new level of elements that weren't there before, like story development, character development. You get behind these people a lot, and it has a great cast, Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth, to make this work as well as it does. I really enjoyed the film a lot. Not quite as good as Fury Road. Thumbs up, though. I give it a thumbs up. And I also give a thumbs up to the Garfield movie. If you go into this loving Garfield and you've been waiting for a movie that really shows what makes him work, this is good enough. I mean, not a classic by any means necessary, but it doesn't need to be. It's a fun movie, a good fun movie you could take the kids to. They'll have a good time with it. You'll have a good time with it too. The voice work I thought was very good. Thought the animation was a ton of fun. It's a Mark Dindal movie, and he usually very rarely misses the mark, except for Chicken Little. But this is the guy that did Castle Dance and The Emperor's New Groove. This is another movie that I had a ton of fun with. A great villain in there too, played by Hannah Waddingham. Can't recommend it enough. Thumbs up. And so with that said, we wrap up another episode of talking about the movies for this week, and then next week we start the month of June off with a movie that will hopefully buck this trend of the box office, because the box office right now is struggling, but this month has a lot of intriguing films overall, starting with next week's movie, Bad Boys, Ride or Die, Martin Lawrence, and of course Will Smith. This is his first movie since the Oscar slap, but the last couple Bad Boys movies have been really good, especially Bad Boys for Life, so it's the same people involved in here. I'm really looking forward to see what they do with it. I'm hearing a lot of good things going forward. I can't wait to check it out. Comes out next week. We'll have a review for that here. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to hear my full thoughts on both If and Back to Black, you can check out the link here. Check out the other episodes of talking about the movies I've done. And also hit the like and subscribe button for our main channel and the Reviewing Network Live, where I'll talk more about the box office and other stories of the past week. But with that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. So until then, thanks for watching. Take care.